Good evening, everyone. On behalf of CATS, I welcome all the speakers and each one of you to the Place Stories session of Festival of Places 2020-21, jointly hosted by Indira Gandhi National Center of the Arts, New Delhi and CATS. The Festival of Places is an initiative of CATS, a not-for-profit organization working in the area of heritage conservation, management, and advocacy since 2001. We have been working with a vision to highlight local heritage assets, empower local communities, and make heritage conservation participatory and sustainable. An effort such as ours requires technical and financial assistance as well as patronage. You can support and participate in our multiple initiatives and programs by volunteering your skills and contributing financially. Do visit our website www.indiaheritagehub.org or write to us at info@catsindia.org for more details. We at CATS feel very strongly about the dismal state of public spaces in our cities and firmly believe change in the way we think, talk, and use public spaces can only begin at the grassroots by creatively engaging people with places and empowering them to make a difference to the places and spaces around. The Festival of Places is an idea born out of the spirit of volunteerism to come together, collaborate, co create, and celebrate places that nurture health, happiness, and foster community living. The festival aims to bring people, places, and memories and the interrelationships at the forefront of public discussion. It envisions to investigate places, the people who inhabit them, the collective and individual memories that are integral to places, and present them in a new way to leverage discussions on the future of public spaces. The festival provides an opportunity to people for sharing their personal narratives. Moreover, the festival aims to help discover the much overlooked human dimension of spaces. The main highlight of the festival this year is Play Stories, a series of online storytelling sessions that help understand the hidden dimensions, multiple interpretations, and varied memories associated with places, highlighting their distinct characteristics as well as unraveling the bond that people have with them, a connection that lives through their experiences. The storytelling sessions by professional scholars and students from diverse fields focused on public spaces have been planned around the theme of exploring memory in places. In our last Play Story session, we explored the bazaars of Jaipur. The play storyteller took us into the historic core of Jaipur to witness the daily life of the residents of the city unfold within the historic bazaars in all its glory. The place expert delved deeper into the historic city and the bazaar and explored how the idea of brand Jaipur was developed and patronized by the erstwhile rulers of Jaipur. The place resident shared his personal experiences and memories as well as highlighted the transformation of the cultural and crafts environment in the city. Today, we will be exploring yet another traditional bazaar, this time in the city of light, Varanasi. There was a time when Banaras was a nerve center of Indian culture, and this was possible only because the city was alive culturally, creating itself and evolving continuously through the pursuits of its inhabitants, spiritual thinkers, artists, musicians, craftsmen, seekers with multifaceted personalities and diverse skills, as well as pilgrims, all of whom firmly believed in the values that the city symbolized and shaped their lives and actions in accordance with those values. The big question today is the city really alive? Is it creating and renewing itself? What we see today in Banaras is really a manifestation of the problem existing deep inside within the soul of the city. What we see on the outside are just symptoms. The other big question is, can the city package itself to be a cultural destination and dress itself up without addressing the real problems? What draws people to Banaras is its spiritual and cultural light. Therefore, it will not be enough to merely attend to the problems that are visible on the surface. The city has to resurrect itself through the various institutions and the creative pursuits of its inhabitants. It has to provide an opportunity first to its inhabitants to creatively engage with the city and then the people from outside to do so. Culture is not something static. If it is not alive, what we will offer to the visitors will only seem to be superficial and distorted. The title of today's play story is Vishwanath Gali. Our play storyteller for the session, Ms. Stuti Agarwal, will be taking us into the historic core of Banaras to witness the daily life of the residents of the city unfold in the famous gullies. The play's expert for the session, Animesh Dev, will take a deeper look into the historic city and the bazaar and explore the memories associated with the place as well as the connections that people from all walks of life have with the place. Place resident Mr. Avinav Peshwani will share his personal experiences and memories. Our play storyteller Stuti Agarwal was born and brought up in Varanasi. She has always been a meticulous student through her school. Presently, she is pursuing the second year architecture course in Sushant School of Art and Architecture, Gurgaon. Apart from architecture, she also has interest in oil painting, sculpting, branding, learning about folk art, and from past few days, she has also been trying to learn Turkish. She has also done a 4 month course on bookbinding. Our place expert, Mr. Animesh Dev, is a Delhi-based young architect and urban designer who locates his interests in academics and research. He is presently teaching in the Department of Urban Design at the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. Formerly, he has practiced in prestigious architecture and urban design projects, both with the government and private organizations. To his interdisciplinary expertise, he explores the various social spatial nuances with cultural anthropology, along with ethnographic filmmaking. Academic courses inclined to his interests are urban history and development theory seminar, urban anthropology, writings in urban design, design theories, and fieldwork practices. He develops critical thinking on socio-political transformations which are expressed and experienced through urban spaces. He advocates the significance of social theories and approaches in the city-making process and explores the idea of Indian cities. Our place resident, Mr. Avinav Peshwani, is a geologist by education, traveler by passion, and entrepreneur by occupation. After traveling 16 countries, he decided that he wanted to settle in his hometown, Varanasi. Born close to the main ghat, he has always loved the old city. Till date, he is passionate about showing his city to travelers. His passion made him start his venture Safarnama, a boutique hotel situated in Agra and Varanasi. Not only Safarnama has great reviews on various online platforms, but the concept of providing comfort along with local experiences has got wide appreciation. I will now invite Stuti to please introduce her play story.
Good evening, everyone. So before talking about Vishwanath Gali, I would like to talk about Varanasi, which is an ancient city. It is the spiritual capital of India. It is a city of Ghat situated on the banks of river Ganga, and it is one of the holiest city amongst the 7 sacred cities. Its history dates from the time of Buddha. It is said that Lord Buddha attained his enlightenment in this city. Then Adi Shankara established the worship of Shiva here. Ramcharitramanas which was written by Tulsidas, was also written here. Guru Nanak made a trip to Varanasi, which is said to have played an important role in founding of Sikhism. It is a common belief amongst Hindus that dying and getting cremated along the banks of Ganga helps one to attain salvation. Apart from religious and cultural aspect, it has also shown immense growth in industrial sector. It is famous for its muslin and silk fabrics, perfumes, sculpture, and ivory works. Approximately, there are 23,000 temples in Varanasi, out of which the most famous 3 are the Kashi Vishwanath temple, the Sankat Mochan, and the Durga temple. Here I'll talk a little about the Kashi Vishwanath temple, which in the history has been destroyed several of times and has been reconstructed several of times. Kashi Vishwanath temple lies between a maze of narrow lanes that are popularly known as Vishwanath Gali. Now we can watch the video. Varanasi. It is the city of Ghats. It is the spiritual capital of India. Here you can find temples in every lane. Talking about narrow lanes, also popularly known as Galiyan, here is a video which will take us to the most popular Vishwanath Gali. The famous Vishwanath temple has been destroyed and reconstructed a number of times in the history. The temple was demolished by Aurangzeb, the 6th Mughal emperor, and Gyan Bapi Mosque was built at its site. In 1780, it was reconstructed by Ahilya Bai on a site adjacent to it. Soon the pilgrims started visiting the temple and the locals started putting up stalls near the temple to sell goods and services. Now, these stalls have turned into market. Vishwanath Gali is the oldest and busiest street in Varanasi. Running from Gyanbapi Chowk to the Dashashwamedh Ghat, it is roughly around 300 meters long. It remains busy all day long throughout the year. So this is the entrance to the Vishwanath Gali.
It's an overcrowded street with shops on either side of the lane. People are standing in the middle of the street buying stuff, making it more congested. We can see vehicles passing by and also are parked, thus adding to the chaos. Also, we can see a lot of policemen because of the presence of Vishwanath temple. The shops with different goods can be seen. People are standing in the middle of the street and are chit-chatting.
Vishwanath Gali serves amazing street food. Golgappes, tikki chaat, lassi, and the list goes on.
The market has a wide variety of availability of products. Here we can see shops of colorful bangles, wooden pots, metal cutlery, or purses or slings. There is a shop for nearly everything. The shops are open on the street so that people passing by can notice the goods and can buy them. But there is a disadvantage of it. The disadvantage is that the people are standing on the road and are buying stuff, making it difficult for the people who are passing by. Here we can see shops of photo frames and shops of Banarsi saris can also be seen. There are a lot of shops for bangles and women accessories. Wide variety of mouth fresheners are available. We can see that there are a lot of shops for saris. Now we can see a shop for utensils and bangles yet again. ये बनारस है, यहाँ मंदिर दिखना तो जरूरी है. There are a lot of shops for photos and sculptures of idols. And there is a parking for two-wheelers also. Here we can see that the crowd is not only poor or rich. There are a variety of people, be it poor, rich, different caste, creed, religion. It basically represents India. It is mini India, by the way. This is the crowd during Sawan ka Somvar. And this line starts far away from Vishwanath Gali. These people come to Varanasi just to visit Vishwanath temple, a very holy place. During evenings, these lanes are completely lit because of the fact that the shops are open from one side. It looks immensely beautiful. It's a view worth appreciating. So here I have recorded experience of some of my friends. Let's watch it.
Hello, I'm Vishaka. I was born in Banaras. तो विश्वनाथ टेम्पल जाना तो फर्स्ट थिंग होता है. विश्वनाथ टेम्पल इज इटसेल्फ अ स्टोरी, इट्स अ सिटी बाय इटसेल्फ. इतना सुंदर है, इतना कल्चरल है. द बेस्ट पार्ट इज द आर्किटेक्चर. यू विल नॉट really understand unless you know the story of it, or the pujas and everything. It's so holy. And also the galiya, which is like the key part of it.
Wow, that was amazing. For the people who are born in Varanasi, Vishwanath Gali holds a very important part.
Hi, I'm Khushi. I've been to Vishwanath Gali when I was a child. My experience was not so good because मैं वहाँ खो गई थी after we were returning from the temple. But if you ask me for the toys, yes, I love them. And also the things they sell. They're really good, cheap, and simply awesome.
I think she actually went when she was very small because she got lost, and also she is talking about toys which are available there.
Hey, I am Nishtha. Though I was in Varanasi to complete my schooling, but I have been to Kashi Vishwanath a number of times. The streets over there are so compact that there is hardly any space to walk. The pilgrims come to this place from all over the world, so it's a busy area. For visiting the temple, you have to get up early in the morning so that the crowd is less. The streets sell a number of items like food items, lassi, sweets, and many other cuisines. The shops even sell saris and other items.
People who live in Varanasi or who don't, if they have been to this place, then Vishwanath Gali will be very important to them. Now here is the experience of a Bollywood actress who visited Vishwanath Gali.
Hi Sarah, where are you? नमस्ते दर्शकों, हम पहुंचे हैं बनारस के विश्वनाथ गली. जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ भिन्न भिन्न प्रकार की चूड़ियाँ मिल रही हैं. यस, मैनी कलरफुल बैंगल्स. प्लीज आते रहिए. बहुत ही क्राउडेड सी गली है जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं. लेकिन हम हाजिर हैं. क्या है भैया? दही. यहाँ पे मिल रहा है दही. यस, यू हर्ड, दैट इज कर्ड. क्या ये बाइक है? जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं गली में बाइक्स जा रही है. ये देखिए trinkets, as you can see. ये एक बड़ी सी दुकान आ गई है. Unlike the vibe of the गली, with multi-colored चूड़ीज. अभी हम दिखा रहे हैं आपको रंग बिरंगी चूड़ियाँ. Yes, these are the colorful bangles. अगर आप हमें जानते हैं, आपको पता है that I really love bangles. तो अभी I'm going to buy some bangles. So I will see you soon. नमस्ते.
I was born in Varanasi itself, so it's pretty obvious that I have been visiting this place since I was very small. And Vishwanath Gali is 10 to 15 minutes from my house. So when I was small, I used to go to this place with my mom by auto rickshaw. We used to have real fun. We used to eat the street food. We used to buy different goods which were sold, like some makeup products, purses, utensils, bags, and many more things. So whenever we used to eat something, we used to get it packed for the rest of the family. And I remember once there was this festive season and the place was very crowded. So it got very late and we were not able to find any vehicle. So we walked home, and we had really huge bags with us, and we got really tired. There's this misconception about Vishnath Gully that यहाँ पे सिर्फ सस्ते सामान मिलते हैं, but it's not true. I've observed this, that shopkeeper increase or decrease the rate by looking at the people. Vishnath Gully holds a very important part in my life because anytime we wanted something small for which major shopping was not needed, we used to go to this place. And going to Vishnath temple was fun and a hectic job because it's very crowded, so I used to get very tired. Also, once I went to Vishnath temple and I got to know that photography was prohibited inside the temple. So we had to leave our phones, cameras, shoes, everything inside the locker. Then we used to collect the puja thali, and there were huge barricades and a lot of police. So we went through security checks. Then we saw Annapurna Devi, the goddess of food. The original statue was made of gold, as I've heard, but was not kept on display. The temple of Vishwanath, that is Lord Shiva, that was inside the courtyard. It had a mandap. The interior was not that large, but overall atmosphere was ideal for worship. I had fun, I got tired, I felt very peaceful. So there was this one time we were walking through the lanes of Vishwanath Gully, and my mother went inside a shop and I was standing outside the shop. There came a foreigner who got separated from her group and asked me to help her. I didn't remember the way, so I couldn't help her. And I don't know why, but that time I got a little nervous. Now when I think about it, I feel really very guilty. Now when I've grown up, I realize that now we don't visit that place very often. Or maybe whenever we go, we just go for street food and that's it. So I have felt so many emotions in this place: happiness, sadness, guilty, everything. It really holds a very important part in my life.
Thank you, Suti, for this very emotional narration of Vishnath Gully and getting to know the experiences of your friends and yourself. I will now invite Animesh to talk about Banaras and Vishnath Gully in more detail. Animesh, over to you. Animesh, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Thank you, Vashi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here to the Festival of Places. Thank you, Shruti, for sharing your experiences and insights through a short video. Vashi, I will be sharing my screen now, and let me know if it is visible. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. So Good evening once again. Today I'll be talking about Vishwanath Gali, which is in Banaras, and also the production of memories in the transforming social spaces. So this is how I would like to advocate the idea of the social space, which contains memory, and hence when social space changes, the social relation changes, the memory changes. So I will be presenting some of my understandings from the city of Banaras. I would like to briefly elaborate on the socio-religious values associated with Banaras, more so with Vishwanath Temple. I will then discuss the determinants of mohallas, a value-laden spatial understanding, and hence about the internal streets. We will focus on Vishwanath Gali as a memory bank with the structure of the place, along with a few of my experiences. Towards the end of this presentation, we will understand the impact of development proposals that has the capacity to alter the value of the place and hence the ability to construct the new memory. So as we all know, the city of Varanasi is located on the western bank of the holy river Ganga. It is also known for the unique setting where the river flows from south to north. Since the river is in its middle course, it meanders and deposits silts, and with time had formed the three smaller plateaus. So we can see that there are three smaller plateaus. In the Kashi Khand Purana, the Kashi Kshetra is said to be standing upon Shiva's Trishul, or the trident, and three main temples from the three main points of the trident. The three main temples act as the fulcrum of the mandalas. They are Omkareshwar temple in the north, Vishweshwara in the middle, and Kadiveshwara in the south. Each temple forms their own khandas and sphere of influence. The sacred settlement is known to us by the three names, which we know: Kashi, Banaras, and Varanasi. The word Kashi literally means to be luminous, or more particularly, a tower of light. Mark Twain said that Kashi is older than legend. Nobody can ever decipher the date of this place. Kashi, as I said, is about the cosmic light. Kas means to shine. Banaras is ready to serve to humans, ready to serve the juice of life, which is Banaras. Varanasi, we popularly know the holy city between the river Varuna and Asi. Alternatively, by crossing the river Varuna, all the sins will stay on the other side of the river, will not enter the Varanasi, and one stays blessed with continuous enlightenment. To understand the meaning of this geographical location, we need to understand the values and beliefs associated with it. The belief system serves as a vital link between the place of pilgrimage and its extensive geographical and ritual hinterland. The passage from the macrocosm, which is the heaven, into mesocosm, which is earth, and further down into microcosm, the temple or the body, is made spatially visible and is regulated by the network of pilgrimage route. That is what we call pilgrimage mandalas. So there are 5 pilgrimage mandalas, which we'll be talking about. The passage from the archetypal city, such as Varanasi, may be considered as a mesocosm, mediating between the microcosm and the individual and the mesocosm of a culturally conceived greater universe. The linkages among these 3 archetypal levels is sometimes expressed in the idea of central axis around which the cosmos turns. This center serves as a communication link between heaven and earth and is called axis mundi. So there are 5 pilgrimage routes. We will be talking about them. So the smallest route, which is the first, we will not discuss the other 4 pilgrimage route, but the smallest one, which is Antagriha Yatra. The 5 sacred routes determine their own territory and reflect the various myths. However, the pilgrimage journey always starts and ends at Vishweshwara temple or Kashi Vishwanath temple, the pillars of the center of the world, or axis mundi. This is how the value is associated to this particular temple. It is also believed that the Vishweshwara temple, conceptualized as the pivot of the cosmos, is outside mundane space and time, even though it is a visible sight on the earth as well. The 5 sacred routes, from top to bottom, sequentially become smaller area, but higher in manifestation power. reaching to the highest at the inner sanctum, which is Antagriha. This idea runs parallel to that of a shrinking world but expanding universe. So there is this idea of locating various tanks and various temples along these parikrama routes. So did the ancient and particularly the builders of Varanasi know the distance between the earth and the sun equals to about 108 times the sun's diameter? Likewise, did they know the distance between the earth and the moon equals about 108 times the moon's diameter? So this is how the whole network was planned. The whole movement network, along with the urban development, was planned during that time. The sacred route of this journey moves 7 times around the Vishweshwara temple. It includes 72 shrines and sites, along with which 56 are Shiva's forms. This symbolizes cosmic integrity, that is 7 chakras. These numbers are the resultant of larger celestial understanding and associated Hindu beliefs. The number of sacred sites and shrines along the 5 sacred routes of the pilgrim symbolizes the cosmic integrity. Here I would like to quote The Good City Form by Kevin Lynch, where he mentions about a theory called normative theory. The normative theory is about some coherent set of ideas about appropriate city form and its reasons. This theory asserts that form of any permanent settlement should be a magical model of the universe and the gods. It is a means of linking human beings to those vast forces and a way of stabilizing the order of harmony to the cosmos. The cosmic model upholds the idea of celestial city, stable and hierarchical, and magical microcosm is in which each part is fused into a perfectly ordered whole. So the conception of the assembling of individuals was often equalized with his religion or caste. A mohalla could be based on following generators and become a part of the sacred network which forms the sacred city. So here we would like to get into some determinants of the pakka of the neighborhood, and we will understand that each mohalla has a well-articulated nucleus. The nature of this nucleus changes. I would like to mention here that these diagrams, these sketches, are credited to Urvashi, which I forgot to mention. So we can see here that there are instances when we see temple as the center of the nucleus. For example, in Nepali temple and Lalita Ghat Mohalla. Also, we see ghats as the nucleus of a particular mohalla. Manikarnika Ghat and Mashan Mohalla is one of the examples. Ashrams and mutts like Kabir Chauraha Mohalla is one of the examples of an ashram being at the nucleus. The other determinant is a kund, which is a water body. Here, the example is Durga Kund, and also a haveli like Devki Nandan Katri Mohalla or at Ahilyabai Ghat is one of the examples. Despite of the general tendency of the weakening of the mohalla, a neighborhood unit also sees in other cities. It is said that Varanasi is the city where the tradition of the mohalla still remains deeply rooted. Even now, mohallas are theorizing units for most of the celebrations and festivals in Varanasi, and some festivals are held fantastically with heated competition between the mohallas. Owing to different immigrants who came to the city, attracted by its sanctity and excellent situation, hallowed by Vishwanath and other deities, and as a consequence of various invasions, Varanasi developed a diversified community structure with religious characteristics. People from various parts of India came here and settled in groups of different sites. The core of the city around the Vishwanath temple is inhabited mostly by Hindus. The location of deities and religious cultural sites of different parts of India also helped in the formation of the notion of national consciousness in the minds of Varanasi dwellers. The Vishwanath temple area is filled up evenly with buildings from 2 to 5 stories of brick or concrete. The James Prinsep map from 1822 showing the structural classifications of buildings into Pakka and Kacha indicates that the degree of urbanization was significantly different by location. It appears that while Pakka blocks were densely urbanized with multi-storied buildings as seen today, Kacha blocks were relatively sparse with low-rise buildings and were urbanized later. 53 mohallas are found within the extent of this map. Map from 1929 shows 52 mohallas, names within the same area, and 47 of them comprise with present mohallas. Thus, there has been probably no major change in the number and size of the mohalla. In general, a mohalla consists of house located along both sides of one or more streets. In other words, the mohalla that a house belongs to is determined by the street that the house faces. Coming to the street network, the hierarchization of street based on their width is hard, for there are considerable local changes in street width, and in terms of usage, there are some busy lanes 2 meter wide and some desolate streets 5 meter wide. So coming to the Vishwanath Gali, which leads from the Shashwamedh Ghat to the Vishwanath temple, Vishwanath Gali holds as a bustling commercial character. With the advent of industrialization and the standardization of good and mass production, it had impacted the city with a higher influx of pilgrims, though we know that the mobility got enhanced by the advent of railways, and also the higher degree of consumption of both everyday utilities as well as ceremonial objects used for the religious purpose. If I can share my first encounter with this bustling street, I was almost unaware of the distance which I need to walk to reach to the temple and in which direction I need to walk. The crowd and commerce facilitated the idea of wayfinding to me. Also, I was unaware of where I need to keep my footwear. Will there be a designated place for it? Will it be safe to leave my footwear with any shopkeeper as they were claiming? As shared by Stuti, the prices of various products sold here indicates the embodied value associated with them due to the place where they are sold, especially the ceremonial objects and objects for social purposes like marriage, as it attaches the belief of auspiciousness with them. The emerging new building types can also be seen in Stuti's work as wider niches to the lane where more shops can be placed with the frontage of the gully in a U form. It is similar to how your stomach increases its contact area with food through a finger-like structure called alveoli in the stomach. There are various social relations practiced in this gully which are not limited to commerce-based interaction and earning of livelihood by the locals and used as a thoroughfare and stay socially muted, but also the everyday interactions between the residents and the tenants, beholding unique identity based on gender, age, and ethnicity. They all carry different meanings to this place. We understood that how people are aware of this gully. The gully is not only a space to move from one point to another, but also a place where various social relationships are practiced and hence the development of various socialization realms. As shared, with the higher value of this place, people associate themselves with a higher esteem to this place. Such identities or having the ability to get identified through this place, through the place or place identity leads to place association. Sense of place or sense of belonging is usually taken to refer to the attitude and feelings that individuals and groups hold vis-a-vis the geographical area in which they live. It further commonly suggests intimate, personal, and emotional relationships between self and place and between each other. But will these relationships be the same in upcoming years? We all know about the changes which this place is experiencing. So Vishwanath, the Vishwanath Dham, Shri Kashi Vishwanath Mandir Precinct development, which is an upcoming project of which the reminiscence can already be seen. In one of the presentation, it is clearly stated that no single building on the riverfront can be dated to earlier than 1600s. So it claims that it eventually take the stake of the demolition being as a right to this place eventually, and it is in the genes of this place eventually. It is continuously built over to serve the various agendas. So we can see down to the southern finger is the Vishwanath Gali. We can see the mosque and the temple in the middle. We also see the ghats on the eastern side here. We also see here how dense the fabric is, and this is what is proposed in the scheme. Here we can see that the spaces are not in the object, but the objects are in the space, and that is the fundamental change in the character of the place eventually. I will leave here, and I would request to take this discussion forward, and if we can build a discussion over this project.
Thank you, Animesh. It was really, going back in time, seeing the visuals and the idea of how Varanasi as a city has grown up. I would now like to invite Abhinav to share. Abhinav is a resident of Varanasi and is grown up on the Ghats, I believe. So Abhinav, before I start talking to you about your personal memories, I would like to ask you, how have you as a person seen specifically the Vishwanath Gali transform over the years? What have been the major changes that you have seen there?
Like for me, like I have been born very close to Vishwanath Gali in one of the mohallas called Ganesh Mohalla. And I had like really fond memories of walking to Vishwanath Gali to have dosas and idlis, which and then exploring small, like when I was in my teenage, exploring small cafes around Vishwanath Gali. Those were like memories which are really close to me. And then going and finding the steamboat, like a metal steamboat, which you put up a diya inside the steamboat, and they go tuck 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 tuck, and they are all placed up in the Vishwanath Gali. So these are the memories which always come up to me when I talk about Vishwanath Gali, and almost all those memories I could still relive when I go to Vishwanath Gali at this moment. But again, because I interact with a lot of people who are running businesses in Vishwanath Gali, they say that earlier for me, as Stuti was saying earlier, like you need to buy anything or like any household items or any items related to marriage or wedding or anything, people will go to Vishwanath Gali as the first thing. But right now, the residents, like the locals of Varanasi, people, they avoid going to Vishwanath Gali, and there are new markets which have opened up in more away from the ghats, and people are now visiting those. So all the shopkeepers which were relying on the locals have actually transformed completely to tourists. So it has now become complete, like the commercialization has complete be on the tourism front rather than local fronts. So a lot of changes have happened, but at this moment, I still can relish my old memories, my childhood memories when I go to Vishwanath Gali. But I'm not sure how it is going to proceed further from the kind of development which is taking place.
Animesh, would you like to talk about in more detail about the project that you mentioned, and how what is the idea behind the project and how it has been conceptualized?
Yeah, so the idea which is the foundation to this project is actually about providing the sanitary infrastructure to this area, which includes fresh air as well. The idea of sanitary and sanitization as a process of cleansing the built form is something which is one of the concern to this particular project. So yes, we do need better infrastructure facilities for the hygiene of the residents here. But at the same time, how we can achieve this while maintaining the built character and also the social character of this place. I have also discussed about how each mohalla is eventually has its own character with respect to the kind of the nucleus which it has. Also, with this kind of project which will come, the idea of parikrama routes will see a shift in itself, I personally feel, because if I can share my screen, if you allow.
Yeah,
will it be
please.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Thank you. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is.
So here we can see a lot of infrastructure like visual galleries, museums, and tourist facilities are coming in the blocks which are planned here. But also we can imagine that how touristy the nature would be of this particular stretch. And once this particular stretch will also be utilized by the pilgrims, what kind of social interactions between the two would be there? It will be so the scale of the space overall is a pretty new phenomena to the Pakka Mohalla itself. So the idea of density, the idea of how the building blocks are placed, and the kind of social relationships which this area will generate, and also the whole scheme is, I personally feel, is muted about how the gentrification will happen around this area, how the built areas around this particular scheme will change itself without much control, so to say. So those are some of the things which I wanted to highlight here.
Sure. So I would also like to invite people in the audience, if they have any questions, they can, unmute themselves and ask the question. Meanwhile, Stuti, I would like to, ask you about your experience. And, while we have talked about how the gully is connected to the Ghat, specifically the Vishwanath Gully and its connection to the Ghat, how do you perceive the connection of the gully with the rest of the city? Because mostly when we are talking about Varanasi, our attention and focus is always on the Ghats. But I personally, I have also done, my master's thesis on Varanasi, and I know very well that there's much more beyond the Pakka Mahal. There's much more within the city itself in its different mohallas, which are not that deeply connected with the Ghat itself, but they also contribute to the essence that Varanasi is.
So I live in Varanasi, so whenever we are going to a place, we usually take the main roads. But whenever it's overcrowded or there's no place to take our bikes or cycles, then we usually travel through gullies and through narrow lanes. There's narrow lane at every 2 meter you can find a narrow lane. It's filled with lanes and gulliya. It gives there's connection at every place. Like from Medagin to the place where I live, I can find a number of routes to go to my home. So it creates a very compact thing, like a loop sort of thing, that where we can go everywhere from different lanes. So it gives a very different experience, that there are many ways to go to a specific place.
Yeah, I think you quite rightly said that, it also brings about the very important issue of walkability in such cities, and I think the residents there, they have themselves created a mental map of that area, which actually, is based upon the landmarks and the other aspects of the streets, such as, Animesh talked about the kunds and the trees and the temples and everything. They actually create a mental map and help for us, people from outside, they might find it very difficult to navigate those gullies. But the people who have lived there, they have a very, clear idea of how and where to, move around the place. And, very rightly you said that, when we are not able to move on the, main streets, you can take these shortcuts and, still reach your place instead of getting blocked into the jam. Animesh, would you also like to talk about, specifically about the issues related to services and utilities? These gullies are so narrow and compact, and there's a, deluge of electrical wires and cables all moving to these streets. How does one tackle these kind of issues in such narrow constructed streets?
I think that's quite a nationwide issue altogether with our.
But in Varanasi, it is completely at a different skill level.
Indeed, and and also they develop a kind of character to our inner cities in general. With respect to the provisioning of infrastructure, I think this is mostly about the enforcement of laws and also the provisioning of adequate infrastructure in general. But the major concern is about without losing the character of the narrow gullies, because they are without even romanticizing the idea, they are the essence of our inner cities eventually. So, for example, smaller inserts of certain kinds may develop larger impacts, and hence, other than the provisioning of infrastructure with respect to the visual experience or the experience of walking in these streets can parallelly be addressed through some smaller inserts.
I would like to add something here in terms of the project, which has a lot of both angles to this project have been coming. A lot of people are talking good things about it. A lot of people are talking bad things about it. But again, being a local, I have seen a lot of times that even it was being mentioned that a foreigner being lost and not finding a way, and even we were talking about, like once you go to the temple through Vishwanath Gully, a lot of tourist ways, a lot of different challenges, finding a place to put shoes. Like it is not organized, and the main challenge is a lot of because it is so dicey or so grayish, a lot of tourists go with a bad experience, of being exploited, both Indian as well as foreigners. Now, talking about Varanasi, I would say Kashi Vishwanath Temple, or in fact Vishwanath Gully, is the heart of Varanasi. And right now, what we are talking about is modification with the heart. But in this case, I think that there are a lot of blockages in the arteries happening with this heart because of the burgeoning demand of an influx of tourists. More tourists are coming now. More people are now trying to travel with bikes or like cars. So there was a much needed step to be taken, and a lot of times some surgeries were being done. Small initiatives were being done. This corridor project is more like a complete heart transplant. Now, a lot of people would say that, how can you remove a heart of a body and, still you would expect it to be the same body. But a lot of people can still advocate that it was needed because this heart had a lot of blockages and arteries. And even if the main essence of the heart can be remained, and if it can be transplanted, can we still get it? So it's again a question to be discussed, putting another heart into it, will it be same thing? Or it would be completely something devastating. So that's again a question, but it was kind of needed. Otherwise, it could have collapsed anytime because a lot of things were happening. There was even a bomb blast which happened, and then a lot of changes were done, surgeries were done. A major transplant was required, and that is being done. And a lot of things would come and go with that. That is my take on this whole corridor project.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Amita,
I worked extensively on the Ghats, and I haven't been back to Varanasi for a couple of years now. So I'm very much interested in the update on the on the project, I was worried about the architectural character of the spaces. So if the corridor as a kind of a constructive surgery project is bringing more public space into the area, is the relationship between the building and the street, is it being maintained? Are the building facades being renovated? So maybe the residents can enlighten us about the evolving character of the corridor now.
I would say that the characters have a lot of time in a lot of places have been missing. There have been some random things which are being happening with the buildings. But a lot of times, if you would remember the main Gadolia Chowk and the way it has been done right now with bringing up a multi-level parking with a whole of a Chunar stone theme and the whole lane which connects Gadolia to the Shashmed Ghat, which eventually leads to the Vishwanath Gali, has been done with a nice Chunar stone, pink color stone flooring with the nice stone benches. So a lot of things have been done with like putting up a little, like, having the characteristic left. At the same time, there are a lot of things because if you would remove suddenly a 300-year-old building, and if you would just want paint it in a pink color wall, and so that is still, if you remove something which has been there for 300 years, that still, there is something getting lost. So they're trying their best to make the characteristic still be there.
Well, that's interesting. I was wondering why, architectural studies were not done, and why, the facades are not, the new facades are not open to input by the community and by heritage experts as to their appropriateness.
Probably Animesh sir can comment on that.
Yeah, in continuation to what Amita was saying, I would say that it is not only about the architectural facade or the architectural character altogether, or even provisioning of infrastructure. For example, what would be the change in the footfall to the Vishwanath Gali after this project? How the livelihood may get hampered, how the character may change to the Vishwanath Gali. More so, the project is more touristy in nature. We can see gallery, the galleries are there, and some tourist guest house and multiple things for the tourists are coming there. How the neighborhood in which this transplant is there, how that neighborhood will start changing for it. And also, it was mentioned in one of the reports that more than 63 temples, the smaller temples, and at the cost that they were encroached, were demolished for this particular project. 62 or 63, some figure like that. And demolition is in progress between the temple and the river, between the Manikarnika Ghat. So, it is not, for me, it is not only about the architecture character or the provisioning of infrastructure, but more so what this particular project will do to rest of the mohallas or the adjacent mohallas or to the larger things. Will this also, Dashashwamedh Ghat is next to Manikarnika, so to say, right? How the whole stretch will start reacting to the fabric inside, and how the footfall will change, so on and so forth. So those are the wider concerns which I think, which we should think of before even thinking of such a scale of a project.
I think Animesh, you quite rightly said that, the idea that we have included spaces like, interpretation spaces and galleries. For me personally, if I talk about Varanasi, the experience of being in Varanasi and getting connected to the city, it cannot be through these galleries or these interpretation spaces. I have personally worked on a mohalla in Varanasi for my master's thesis, and that was way back in 21 years back. And that's the Kabir Chara mohalla. So when I had studied that mohalla, I had interacted with almost all the musicians there and their families, and how they connected with the city is a completely different idea altogether, And the visitors who come visit Varanasi and just the Ghats, and projects that always talk about the Ghats, actually are missing something very important about the city. It's people. It's the people that have made, over centuries have enriched this city. And they are of different professions, different idea. A musician will also be a mathematician will also be into, music. He'll be a, a multifaceted personality, having, knowledge of astrology, having, knowledge of other disciplines as well. So that's the essence and idea of Varanasi. And, while we are always talking about ghats, I think there's also, it's time that we also start talking about the different mohallas and the uniqueness in those mohallas. So that's the living heritage that is actually still there. In some way you would find it to still continue as it was. Whereas if you talk about the Vishwanath Gali and the area around, it has got much commercialized, and the character and the nature in a sense has greatly changed. So I think somewhere we need to balance when we are talking about interventions in these cities. We have balance about talking about the ghats, and we also need to talk about the people and the mohallas and what's happening in those mohallas. So in order to, I think, de-stress the ghats, we also need to develop other areas where people can actually visit and also experience. For people who are living, especially the artists, the weavers, and other people, for them work is worship. For them, their moksha is through their work. So that's where the essence of Varanasi lies. And so personally, I feel that, while we need, sometimes need, these kind of major interventions, but the pros and cons have to be kept in mind. And, how it is going to impact the city in future definitely is, studies need to be undertaken that can actually, forecast as to how the entire area, the ghats and the houses around those, and the lives of the people, because not everything is public in nature on the ghats. There are people who are living there for centuries. For them, the street is not the visiting place. For them, it is part of a daily life. So how do we keep intact their idea of the place as well, while we are always talking about the tourists, the pilgrims, and other peoples? They will just keep coming and visiting the place and go away. But what happens to the people who are there all the time? So I think that's very important. And with this, I would like to, end this session. And thank you so much, Animesh and Abhinav and Stuti, for sharing your memories. There was a comment from the audience. Reenu Singhal was talking about, Animesh spoke about the transformation of spaces, creating new memories. What is the impact of the transformation, and that needs to be studied. So that's exactly what I was, talking about. That these when we're talking about exploring memory in places, and that's what draws people to these cities and these places again and again, is the memory and the experience. So that is where we need to actually focus our attention. And I would now like to share my screen and inform about the next session. So our next session is going to be on, the next Play Story session is on the 21st of March. And it is going to talk about, the title of the session story is Lajpat Nagar. And our play storyteller for the session, Mr. Prerit Bansal, will be taking us into Lajpat Nagar, the famous market of Delhi. The place expert for the session, Professor Sanjay Mehra and Mr. Sameer Sheikh, will take a deeper look into the bustling bazaar and explore the memories associated with the place, as well as the connections that people from all walks of life have with the place. So stay tuned for our upcoming play story. I once again thank everyone for supporting Festival of Places and for sharing their experiences and memories. Thank you so much.